Hey guys, Paul here from familywheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And this week on the program, the new 2016 Toyota RAV4. It's taken me out here to Rogers Pass in British Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful spot for an annual ski trip that I do out into the backcountry. Of course, we'll be leaving this vehicle behind and heading out by helicopter way deep into the mountains. But this is the vehicle that got us here, about a 1,000-kilometer road trip, some wintry driving conditions as well, so an opportunity to put this car through its paces. But you know what? The RAV4 is one of many options out there in the small SUV line for you. Of course, pretty much any company has a vehicle like this in their lineup these days. They're so popular. But the RAV4 has been with us since 1995 and has quite a following. This new version, quite roomy inside, roomier than you might imagine. We're going to load it full of gear, ski gear, but also car seats, and do all of our other standardized tests to see how it stacks up. So make sure to stick around. We'll have more for you coming up. I always see the size of these bags. So this is the fourth generation of the RAV4, and by no means a complete redesign. This generation's been with us since 2013, but a couple of tweaks here and there, including the addition of this SE trim that I'm in here today, giving you sportier, larger wheels, bit of a sportier look with some different bodywork on the outside, LED headlamps, things like that. You can also now get the RAV4 in a hybrid for the first time. Obviously your fuel economy is going to improve quite a bit, and it's got a continuously variable transmission in the hybrid. Some people love them, some people hate them, but here in the conventional gas model of the RAV4, it's coupled up with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder non-turbo engine and a 6-speed automatic gearbox. So what I'm finding here, you can see I'm on some pretty windy, mountainous, snowy roads here in British Columbia right now, and that the transmission is just having to search a little bit more than I'd like. And there we go, you can see it just kicked in for me on a large hill. And while yes, the transmission is searching around for me a little bit here on these mountainous roads, I do find that the fuel economy is pretty good for a vehicle of this size. Toyota is saying that you should expect to get around 8.1 to 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers with this 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, and I'm seeing just that. I've got about 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers on a mix of highway, city, and some pretty mountainous driving as well. So not bad for a car of this size. You stack this up to its competition. We look at the Honda CR-V, the Nissan Rogue, the Ford Escape, and the RAV4 is a fair bit more expensive. It is going to cost you around $2,500 more than the equivalent in any of those vehicles, regardless of the trim. But I do get on board here and find the fit and finish is really excellent. The interior here on this SE trim, the seats are very comfortable, soft touch features and soft touch surfaces all over the place. In fact, I would almost say that the interior on this is of better quality than that Acura RDX that I was driving around a couple of months ago on the program, and this car is significantly less than that. I mean, you can get into a RAV4 starting at $25,000, and that's going to climb up to $37,500 for the limited trim, which is one trim above this SE that I'm in here today. And I have to say that I'm really not lacking much here at all in terms of comfort and refinement on the SE trim that's now available to you with the RAV4. But I want to flag you about that base price, because while it does sound very affordable, it's going to give you only front-wheel drive, and if you want to add all-wheel drive into the mix here on the RAV4, you're going to have to pay a few $1,000s on top of that. So keep that in mind when you're shopping around and thinking, oh, I could get into a RAV4 for 25 grand. Most Canadian families aren't going to want to get this in a front-wheel drive option. They're going to want that all-wheel drive for getting around in the winter. Now, putting aside that beef about the fact that you only get front-wheel drive in the base trim of the RAV4, it does come with some pretty good kit right out the gate for that $25,000 base model. Things like cruise control, air conditioning, power windows, and even sonar sensors on the front and rear bumper that will help you park the vehicle in really tight spaces in the city. So you're not getting a totally stripped out base edition of the RAV4 when you're spending that 25 grand. I like that. But when you want to start to get into the really fancy technology of the RAV4, you're going to have to get that on the higher level trim. So things like adaptive cruise control, brake collision mitigation technology that will brake for you if the vehicle senses that you're not reacting quite quickly enough. You also have lane departure warning systems available to you, and a bird's eye view 360-degree parking camera as well. Now, in terms of how this car drives, we've already talked about the transmission just searching a little bit more than I'd like on these mountainous highways of British Columbia, but you know, flatter highways in the city, I think you're gonna find the power more than adequate. And one thing that I really do like about this RAV4 is how quiet the ride is. I mean, I've got winter tires on here on a rough winter road at highway speed, and it's pretty quiet in here, and I really like that. One thing I'm not such a big fan of is the steering feel on this car, though. It's very light. By that I mean I feel like I could almost drive it with my fingertips, and I prefer a little bit of a heavier, sportier feel. Take one for a test drive and see what you think for yourself. What I really like in this car, though, is the interior feel here in the driver's position. Everything is right where I'd want it to be. It's comfortable and it's intuitive. I've had some issues with the infotainment systems in Toyota products lately. The new Tacoma wasn't pairing up with my Android properly. The Prius C, all the menus were super convoluted and just really not user-friendly. Even the Lexus products, Toyota's higher-end brand, not always super easy to use infotainment systems, but here in the RAV4, the menus are clear, everything's laid out right where it should be, and the hands-free system is dialed. If I want to give a specific address, call one of my contacts, change the radio station, I can all do it on first attempt with the hands-free system. So nice job, Toyota. And hey, my Android is even pairing up perfectly. So yeah, I'm digging that. Okay, let's walk through some of our standardized tests now in the new RAV4, because there are a number of features I'm really excited about, especially for family living. First up, our trunk space test, and you can see here the standard amount of gear we put in all of our vehicles: a diaper bag, couple bags of groceries, we've got a backpack and a stroller and a soccer ball, and it's not a problem at all. In fact, you've got lots of additional room in here on top of this amount of gear, and it's a surprising amount of cargo capacity for a vehicle of this size. Now, if we look in the back seat, often these smaller SUVs can be a challenge for car seats, and our rear-facing child seat here is proving to actually give us a fair bit of room up front still, even though they take up a lot of room for front passenger comfort. We've got about a foot of legroom up front, so for a tall guy like myself, I don't have a problem at all fitting up here really comfortably. Lots of headroom, and you can see here still plenty of legroom. So that's another great thing about the new RAV4 too. Now, one thing I like about the SE and Limited trims that are available for you in the RAV4 is the Softex leather that you can get in this car. The lower end trims come with fabric seats, but Softex is actually something that Toyota is putting in a lot of their vehicles now. It's not true leather, it's actually a faux leather, but it's really convincing. It's comfortable, it's soft, and it's tough. Great for family living. It's also really good for the environment. It's a much greener product to make. So let me show you what I'm talking about here in terms of cleanups. I'm gonna throw some yogurt on for our yogurt test, smear it in, and try and clean it up. And it's not a problem at all. You see what I'm talking about? And this vehicle doesn't come with those hundreds of tiny pinhole perforations that a lot of its competitors have. It looks cool, but it makes cleaning up messes for families really, really challenging. Now let's take a look at that back seat here, because I really like what I'm seeing in terms of rear comfort in this vehicle. Again, a car of this size, it's rather deceptive just how much legroom you get in the RAV4, because it looks rather small. And here's something else that you'll notice. The rear, the roof line on it is sloped down now, and sometimes that can create some problems for headroom for the second row passengers. Not the case here in the RAV4, and that's because Toyota's actually scooped out a part of the roof here, and it means that even for a tall guy like myself, I've got a few inches to spare, and the legroom in this rear seat is fantastic. In fact, I can even recline for a really comfortable ride. I'd be happy driving in this for hours on a road trip, even as a 6'2" full-grown man. So a fantastic little vehicle here in terms of rear legroom, cargo capacity, and just general ability to haul a fair bit of stuff in a small package. You know, when I found out that I'd be test driving this vehicle for you this week, I got in touch with Toyota and I said, who's the target demographic for the RAV4? And they said young couples who are out in the mountains every weekend, you know, the outdoorsy type. And for people like that, this is a really excellent option. I mean, there's tons of cargo capacity back there. The all-wheel drive system has really impressed me as well. I've been on the snowy highways for about the last 1,000 kilometers and it has really not been a problem at all with this all-wheel drive system. But I'm going to go a little bit further and say that this is a great choice for families too. This second row really surprised me here in this RAV4. There's enough room for a couple of car seats, a couple of booster seats, even a couple of teenagers. And when it comes to resale value and safety, the RAV4 has a lot going for it as well. But one thing that I do have issue with is just the fact that this is, you know, a few $1,000s more than the CR-V or the Rogue or the Escape. So you got to hop into all those vehicles and weigh it out for yourself. Is it worth that extra little bit of money for a vehicle like the RAV4? But, you know, it really is comfortable, it drives really nicely, and it's no surprise that the RAV4 continues to just reinvent itself and continues to be a really strong option in the small SUV market after all these years of it being available to us here in North America. Next week on the program, looking at a slightly smaller SUV, in fact a compact crossover, a bit of a new segment for the car companies to sink their teeth into, and we'll look at the Honda HR-V, see how that one stacks up. Until then, love to have you visit the website. You can go to familywheels.ca. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel just by clicking below. Love to have you do that, and we'll see you in about 7 days in that Honda HR-V. Thanks for tuning in.